Tyres are the only contact patch between the car and driver and the road. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what aerodynamics you've got, what suspension bits, what engine, what gearbox, all of that. It doesn't matter if your tyres aren't working. The rubber works against the tarmac at a very specific operating window. Getting that temperature spot on in the tyre is critical, and that's why the tyres are preheated in blankets. So as soon as the driver drives out the pits, he's got grip because of the temperature. They need to be operating, anything less than sort of 80 degrees centigrade, the tyres just don't work. Which is why when you have a safety car period, you sometimes see drivers really struggle on the first lap or two after the safety car to get the tyres back into that temperature. There's a lot of trial and error going on. Tyre manufacturers are having to make tyres that suit every team on the grid, and every team has a car that has slightly different demands. And from a tyre manufacturer standpoint, the track conditions in terms of temperature, in terms of corner speeds, is completely different when you compare, let's say, Bahrain to Silverstone to Monaco or XYZ. So you do have to have a wide range of tyres. Pirelli came into 2017 with a few unknowns because we had completely new aerodynamic regulations. The cars were going to put a lot more G-force into the tyres, and therefore they were quite conservative, which from Pirelli's standpoint is probably the right thing to do. They took the approach as better to be safe than sorry. They want the tyres to be safer rather than have any failures, and therefore they ended up with these one-stop races, which weren't great for the show. They've taken on the feedback from the different teams and drivers, and they've recognized that they can afford to go softer and further down the range on the tyre compounds, and therefore they've introduced a new Hypersoft tyre. Ultimately, the Hypersoft tyre, I think, will come into play on tracks which are lower speed, such as Monaco, such as Canada, where you've got the asphalt isn't particularly abrasive. So I think the drivers are all much happier about the fact that they are going to have this tyre come in for 2018. And if anything, the object of the exercise is to force people to come back towards two stops in the race. Because we had races where the softest tyre of the weekend, being the Ultrasoft, was still able to do 20, 25, sometimes even 30 laps. And that just doesn't make sense. The softest tyre of the weekend should be a qualifying tyre, which gives them a massive peak of performance and allows them to really extract some incredible speed in terms of qualifying pace. And then it only lasts maybe 10 or 12 laps in the Grand Prix. And that'll automatically force people into doing a second pit stop later in the race. So that's a good balance between drivers being able to push and attack through the Grand Prix and not be frustrated by tyre wear, but equally, it means that we'll have more exciting races with some strategic options.